What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Batwoman Season 1, Episode 4. Who are you? Ooh. Sorry about that. I'm losing my mind a little bit because of this show, so that was me kind of cracking a bit. I think I'm back. Okay, so let's talk about this show. More shit, if I can basically call it bluntly what the show is. Just so much stuff that, again, it doesn't make sense. It's not entertaining. It's not well done. Show writing wise, it's very cliche. So yeah, basically sums it up. But let's get a little bit more in detail. First of all, talk about Vesper Fairfield, Vesper something. It's the news talk show person that they've been sprinkling in and out. She's been annoying. This episode took it a little step up in the annoying column because, after the whole stupid batarang thing, which, first of all, the fighting is getting slightly better. The batarang throwing still looks really weird. Like, she looks so stiff when she throws. Like, it doesn't look like a fluid, like she's really throwing it. It's like she looks stiff and she's like, that's what it looks like every time she throws a batarang. But anyways, throws one, comes back, she misses it after it, like, I don't even know what it was supposed to do. Like, it bounced off the window or something, and then it came back and she, like, missed it and it hit a vase. So first of all, I guess they released the footage to the public because a public talk show host is talking about it. So I don't know why they released that footage, but they showed it off like, oh, look at Batwoman, she can't catch a batarang. And the Vesper Fairchild or whatever, oh, batarang? More like bat-a-whiff. She can't even catch a batarang. I'm like, what is this? What world is this where people are watching these superheroes like, ha ha, you can't catch a batarang? It's like middle school bullying, like, laughing at her. I'm just, oh my god. And then all of a sudden at the end of the episode, hey, Batwoman, you look great. You look pretty too. Why don't you smile more? I'm just like, what is this show? What is this writing? It's so bad. Oy vey. So that was something that just sort of popped up this episode, that she's been annoying, but in this episode suddenly she's really annoying. Alice is still the same, just not intimidating. Honestly, I just really, this is where I wish I could just cross shows over, like, do random crossovers, so whenever she's like, eeny, meeny, miny, suddenly somebody comes out of nowhere with a bat wrapped in barbed wire and smacks her, and then Negan walks in and she's like, well, you think you can do eeny, meeny, miny, mo better than me? I don't think so. Because you're not intimidating. You're not. Stop trying to be, because the more you try, the less intimidating you are. So that's something that's probably just going to bug me all season until she either dies or, I don't know, turns good. One of the two is going to happen. I don't know which. The burglar in this one, I forget what her name was now. It's something weird, but let's just call her what she is. She's a Black Cat ripoff. I mean, all the other CW shows have been ripping off Marvel this season. It makes sense that Batwoman is now going to pull over a Black Cat ripoff. White hair, black mask. She's a bird instead of a cat, though, so there's that difference. But she still looks very much like Felicia Hardy, so that's what I'm assuming. This is probably a character. I'm probably being too harsh on the show, but this is just based on her design. If this is the design that was in the comics, then maybe the comics ripped off Black Cat from Marvel, or maybe Marvel's Black Cat ripped off this character. Whatever, I don't care. I don't care enough to do the research to find out if this is an actual character and if she was a ripoff or one or the other. Whatever the case, it made me think of Marvel again, which is something all these CW shows are doing right now for some reason. Maybe it's just because Marvel's putting out better stuff. Whatever the case. What else? Her relationship with Regan went nowhere. she hooks up with her at the beginning of this episode, then by the end of it, she's done with her because she can't keep a secret identity while also having a relationship, making this whole episode with that pointless. So all of those scenes were very wasted, kind of dumb. And on top of that, it's, showing again, oh, Sophie, look, she's looking at her like she's hurt. She still loves her. Oh, no. So that's going to become a thing sometime, probably pretty soon. So I have that to look forward to. And then the only I guess thing that I'm not pissed off whenever it happens is, again, Mary as a doctor. I feel like she as a doctor is actually well written. It's very weird because whenever she's trying to be a social media influencer, she's very annoying. She's your typical Gen Z social media, like, ooh, selfie, oh, I'm so... Probably does duck face all the time. That was actually a little bit more millennial thing. But anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. But her as a doctor, actually well done. Like the scene at the elevator from the last episode, and now you've got this one where she actually thinks, she's like, oh, hey, he's way out of it because of the morphine. I'm going to try to get some information out of him as Alice. That's a clever idea. I'm surprised to see it in a show like this. So, yeah, Mary as a doctor, it's not entertaining necessarily, but it's at least well written in a way that I'm just not smacking my forehead as I am throughout most of the rest of the show. So there's that. And then Mary's mom, whose name escapes me, I want to say it's Catherine. Could be wrong about that, but that's the name that comes to mind. So I'll try to remember that. Yeah. If you've watched any of my videos, you'll know I'm terrible with names. That's just how I am. But we find out apparently she's the one that convinced... She's the one that planted the skull bone fragments, which I honestly thought that was going to be... They are Beth's skull fragments, but this is why she's crazy now, is because, she hit her head and, like, cracked her skull, and I thought that's honestly where this was going. But apparently no. Apparently Mary's mom just faked the bone fragments so that way Kate and her dad... What's her dad's name? Dang it. I'm terrible with names. But yeah, so Kate and her dad would move on and stop trying to chase her down. She planted this evidence to make it seem like Beth had died, so that's why they assumed that. So I guess it's not that interesting because, again, I mean, this is kind of a cliche story of, like, the stepmom that's, ooh, she's actually doing some shady stuff on the side. Oh, no. I've seen it before. So, I will say it was kind of funny to me that she thought she could just send her goons in to take down Alice. I'm just like, yeah, that'll work. So I think that's about it. There's like a really dumb moment earlier, which I know just frustrated me more because, as I talked about in the first review, the liberal propaganda and the pandering that a lot of these CW shows do it, but I knew there was going to be a lot of it in this show because of the fact that their main character is a gay woman. I figured there was going to be a lot of pandering because of that, and sure enough, in this episode, she has like this long monologue about, I've never hidden who I am ever since I was in like middle school. I don't remember when it was. She's like, I was out and proud. It's like, okay, have your speech. Just please, if you're gonna do this, don't do it a lot. Because I get the fact that they're going to want to do that because that's what these shows are mainly... That's their main audience that they're targeting, is people who can relate to that. So I get the fact that they're going to have these speeches in there. Just as long as you make something entertaining outside of it, I'm not going to care as much. But the problem is this show is so bad that whenever you throw that stuff in that I also can't relate to, I'm not going to care. And it's going to frustrate me that you're spending this time basically just preaching instead of actually telling an entertaining story. It's why something like Black Panther worked for everyone, even people who couldn't necessarily relate to the story, because it was a good movie overall. The characters were well written, the action was well done. Overall, it was a great movie, so the message that it brought with it, even if some people didn't necessarily relate to it, they still enjoyed the movie. This you're cutting off a large chunk of people in the world and really telling this narrow story that only certain people can relate to, and then you're also not writing a good show around it, so it's not going to be entertaining, which I think is why I've seen a lot of bad reviews for the show, because they didn't do a good job writing it. And I will say it is very interesting now looking back at this show, because now that I've seen Encanto, where they told the story of a tough woman, Luisa, and she was tough. She had big muscles. She was very burly woman, but she was clearly a woman. She wasn't afraid to wear a dress and cry and show her emotions. And then you look at this, and this is like, no, we got to show women empowerment by making her seem manly. She's got a deep voice, and she likes women. She's a lesbian, and yeah, she's super powerful, and yeah, power. Like, not really letting her show that much emotion. She shows a little bit at the end with Regan, but also this was almost a one night stand basically at this point. You've known her for a day, so getting emotional over that is not really something that that's not what I'm talking about when I say show emotion. I mean, like, I want to see you actually struggle and deal with that struggle, and not just, oh, I'm just gonna brood because, yeah, I'm tough. I'm tough. I don't want to hide who I am because I'm tough. It's like, no, that's not really what I want to see from you. I want to see you grow as a hero, become this Batwoman, and really trying to take on this mantle but make it your own. Because there is a good story in that. You're basically stepping into the shoes of your cousin who's been doing this for a while and the city loved him, and dealing with the struggle and the pressure that comes with that title. But instead what they're focusing on is more the struggle of being a woman and trying to be a woman superhero and what that means. And also now they're tackling a little bit about, hiding your true identity when that's not who she is. She doesn't hide herself. It's not as interesting, and it doesn't really show a strong character. It just shows that you've written a character who his sole purpose is to just be, I'm strong. It's like Captain Marvel. Like, there's no actual character strength in it. It's just physical strength. And that's not as interesting. So, that's my little rant on her as a character. Doubt it's going to get much better, but we'll see. So far, all I've seen from her is just being Batwoman and Sophie. It's kind of the two main things that has been focused on. Dealing with her sister, too, but I mean, let's be honest, that's becoming more of the father's story now than hers. But anyways, with that being said, that's the end of this first episode. So on to the next one. See you there. Now, episode 5, Mine is a Long and Sad Tale. Right here. Right here is where I can feel the migraine starting to just want to escape and just release all the rage onto the screen. All right. So, first of all, our hero, ladies and gentlemen, just completely unaware of anything going on around her. And you could make the argument, well, she's very emotionally troubled right now because she's with her long-lost sister and she's hearing this awful things that happen to her. So maybe she's not at the top of her game. Your sister really wants... First of all, she's crazy. But she really, really is trying to force this beer upon you. Maybe you shouldn't drink it, because maybe, just maybe, there's a reason why she wants you to drink it. And sure, the thought that she somehow got people into the bar and she's letting you take her to this bar and stuff, maybe all of that is kind of not something that people would just instantly be like, oh, well, maybe she has a plan. But we've seen clearly she thinks ahead. She has a plan for a plan for a plan. So clearly she has a plan for if you take her. And sure enough, you fell right into the trap. Because you're an idiot. So, yeah. Not a very compelling hero that can get so easily fooled by the villain just like that. So that was already kind of dumb. We also have Mary becoming a little less interesting in this one because she goes and gets drunk and then she's talking to Luke about how awful she feels because she feels really bad for Kate and what she's going through, which is pretty normal. But then all of a sudden she's like, "Ugh, she's out with her murderer sister and not with me right now." She makes it all about herself all of a sudden. I'm just like, well, you just became a lot more shallow and a lot less interesting. So, bully. And that was, I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to set up like maybe a romance there between her and Luke. It's hard to tell. Um, but yeah, I don't know. That just didn't really go anywhere. So that's the only thing I could really think of is that they're trying to set them up as a possible couple. So that's that. Uh, Kate's dad and Sophie end up going to track her down by tracking her phone. Um, that's pretty much all they did. At the end of this, Kate's dad gets stabbed. But of course, he's completely fine because, stabs into the stomach just do nothing, obviously. So, yeah, you don't need to go to a hospital. I'm sure there's no internal bleeding. I'm sure she somehow missed all of your vital organs that are, like, right there, right in the center of your stomach. None of your intestines got hit, even though they're all clumped right there. And then Sophie, of course, they have that moment where she goes looking for Kate, and Kate saves, like, doesn't necessarily save her, but I guess helps her get away from Mouse or whatever his actual name is. So that's about all that happens for those two. But yeah, so let's talk about the story. So for some reason, this guy finds Beth, I suppose, and I don't know what happened to her mom. I guess she just died, and that's that. Finds her in the river, brings her home, and decides, you're going to be a friend for my son. Because we're going with that storyline where because the son's face is a little misshapen, everybody makes fun of him and he has no friends and nobody wants to talk to him. And I'm just like, I mean, he seems like he's not that antisocial. He has a severely burned face. I highly doubt nobody would talk to him. And especially, I realize these flashbacks are happening several years ago, but I don't know. I mean, maybe back in like older times, if you were disformed or something like that, people would be like, whoa, whoa. But in more modern day, most people, they're not really, I mean, they do judge you on your looks, but they don't judge, like, who you are as a person on your looks most of the time. Some people do, and they're assholes for doing it. But, I mean, if I saw some guy who, had a severely burned face, sure, I would notice it, but I wouldn't just be like, oh my gosh, look at his face. I don't want to talk to you. Ew. Nobody does that really anymore. And again, I know this is set several years before modern day, but even several years ago, like, I'm pretty sure they are probably around my age, maybe. And so when I was a kid around their age, I don't really remember kids being like that bad where you wouldn't have any friends if you looked like that. You would have some friends. You would have that. Maybe you would be one of the outcasts, but you would have a group of outcasts that you'd probably be friends with. But the dad's just like, no, he doesn't have any friends, so you're going to be his friend without even knowing whether or not Beth will actually be his friend or not. So that, I don't know. I don't understand what the dad's about. He seems like a bit of a psychopath, possibly. And the son is just sort of going along with it for whatever reason. Apparently he can do impressions, and he just befriends her and decides, I want to keep you around, which of course she's just instantly like, oh, okay, I'll be your friend, and gives in, I guess, to the Stockholm. So I guess that's part of why she sees him as a brother. But we do need to get to the crux of the whole matter here, which is the reason why Alice blames her father and Kate for everything that happened to her is because she called her dad. She called her dad. Her dad shows up with Kate in tow. They go into the house. Trespassing. He committed a crime. He trespassed into the guy's house because he heard you call. Goes in there, and the dad gives him a story which is a little fishy, but it's believable. Because the dad's a little weird, the son's a little weird. You could buy the story that the son called and mimic Beth's voice, which he can do. So the dad bought it, Kate goes downstairs because she senses something is down there. She goes to the door, calls your name because she's like, Beth? Like, she sensed something was over there, and Beth didn't say anything. Because she was worried that if she said something, they might die. Even though her sister was right on the other side of the door. She could have just said anything. At all. And because Kate didn't just go, I know you're there. A freaking, what is she, 10? She's 10 years old, and she didn't know you were there, and the dad didn't know you were there because the father, or the guy was lying to him, and then his wife lied to him later and sold him this lie. She blames both of them for that. Of course! And maybe this is just supposed to be like, oh, well, she's crazy, guys, so of course her reasoning doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's it. I'm just supposed to go with it because, well, she's crazy, right? So, yeah. I mean, it makes no freaking sense whatsoever, but she's crazy. Oopsie doopsie. Her sister was right on the other side of the door and she didn't sense her because twin sensing things, it's one of those commonly accepted things that people assume is real, but if you ask most twins, they're like, I mean, we're similar, so sometimes we know what the other one's going to say, but it's not like an actual sense. Like, it's not like I could be like, oh, he's right over there. That's her whole reason. That's why she hates her dad. That's why she hates her sister. Because they were in the house. They tracked her down to the house. And because they were lied to, because she didn't let Kate know she was on the other side of the door, it's their fault. They should have just known. And then they get lied to later by Catherine about the skull fragments. And even though Kate knew that was a lie, the dad, I mean, of course he's not going to know. He's been searching forever. He gets this from a trusted source. It's not like he had any reason to not trust her. So of course he's going to stop looking. But it's his fault for stopping. Why didn't he keep looking even though he thought she was dead? I mean, come on. And what's worse? The dumbest thing about all of this? Kate blames herself. She literally, in her little notes to Bruce or whatever, I don't even know why she's writing to Bruce, because I don't think she's actually sending any of this stuff. I guess she's maybe just keeping a diary for him to read whenever he gets back. But she even writes to him, it's my fault, because I should have sensed her on the other side of the door. Oh, man. Crazy. They're all crazy. Because if you have a twin and you can't sense when they're on the other side of a door, when they don't say anything even though you've called their name multiple times, and you're 10 years old and you're probably too scared to say anything, shame on you. You should just know. But yeah, so that's the whole motivation for our villain this season, ladies and gentlemen. It's because she blames her father and sister for not knowing, psychically knowing, even though they're not psychics, just knowing that she was in the house because they were lied to about it. That's the motivation. Don't you just feel that? Don't you just feel that? So yeah, that's about it for this one. Yeah, I got nothing else to say. It's dumb, stupid. On to the next one. Woo! And now episode 6, I'll be judge, I'll be jury. This show is guilty of sucking. I wash my hands of this. It's awful. Awful. So first of all, let's talk about our Batwoman. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about our main hero, right? Because she should be really good at this, right? If we're going to be rooting for her, we should see signs that she is good. And she's going to be trustworthy in stopping the bad guys. So, And this episode, let's look at all the great things she did. First of all, she tracks down the supposedly where the executioner is. She goes inside this building, and she sees all the guns lined up in the speakers. And instead of trying to get the cop out of the way that was walking into a trap, she doesn't get to him and also tackles Sophie out of the way, but not quick enough because she still gets hit with a bullet. And then when Sophie is like, "Thanks, Kate," instead of like, "Who's that?" trying to play it off, she's like, "Oh God!" Like just the shocked look of like she knows my identity. Like anybody who can, you don't even have to read faces to know that that was a look of, oh shit, she knows. So she's given that away now because obviously she's got to be great at keeping her secret identity, right? So if anybody ever came up and was like, "Hey Kate," she would just probably be like, "I mean, Kate? What? Who's that? I'm not Kate." Like, clearly nobody's ever going to find out her secret identity, right? So then on top of that, she then goes to this warehouse where supposedly the executioner is supposed to be showing up. And, yeah, let's just walk right in front of a garage door when you hear a truck speeding up. Like, you hear the truck, you're like, what's that? Walk in front of a garage door where somebody could easily bust through it. Sure enough, gets hit by the truck. Luckily, somehow manages to work out because, she got hit with a license plate and it embedded itself onto the suit so we can read the license plate number. Haha, her getting hit was not a stupid thing after all. So, tracks down the guy, goes in, just walks around. Doesn't actually like scope out anything. She's just like walking in. There could have been millions of traps. She would have died to all of them. Then she tracks down the executioner. She goes to the judge at the very end of the episode. And the executioner shows up and she can't even beat the executioner. This guy, just a normal guy. It's not like this guy is like super powered or anything. Just a normal guy. She gets the crap kicked out of her and her dad has to show up and save her. Good on him there. Somehow the executioner has done all this stuff where he's filled the room with this noxious gas that's going to kill them. Don't know when he had time to set all of this up without the judge knowing, even though it seems like the judge was there for a while. So that's a little plot hole we'll skip over. And then, of course, like, all of a sudden it's like, you don't, nothing to break out of there, no explosives or anything, so you just have to wait for the gas to fill the room and then you can burn it. Because there's no other way out of there. Obviously. So that's our hero. That's who we're supposed to be rooting for. That's who's supposed to be good at fighting villains, and I don't see any of it. I don't see any sort of hint that she's going to be able to take on bad guys in the future. It just seems like it's going to be her getting the crap kicked out of her a lot, and then last minute something comes in to save her, whether it's Luke giving her a last minute solve or it's somebody showing up at the last second and shooting the bad guy, whatever. She's not that good. So why should we be rooting for her? I'm actually kind of with Sophie on this because she's going to get herself killed if she keeps doing this. So there's that. You've also got freaking the whole plot with Alice and Mouse. Apparently she goes and gets the weapon that can kill Batwoman. I'm just like, okay, so now you want to kill your sister. Interesting. But this whole thing it's so bad to watch. Alice, I've already talked about how she's clearly trying to act like she's crazy, but you can tell she's not. You can tell this is just an actor putting on a performance. But it's like they didn't want her to feel bad, so they went and got an even worse actor to come in and play Mouse. Because this guy, I don't think he delivered one line convincingly. Everything he said sounded like he was reading off of a teleprompter behind her. What if she doesn't want to play? I don't like this. You are betraying me. Did they put a robot on set? Is this the first robotic actor that they've built and put on set? Is that what this is? Because my God, it was hard to watch. It really was. And what was even harder was their kidnapped prisoner. They put his face on this guy, and so now he has to act like Mouse. And I felt bad because he was actually trying to act like somebody else. Because when he was acting as himself, he looked scared. But then he was having to act as Mouse, and you could tell like he was trying to like act differently. But the guy reading the lines again delivered them so. What should we do now? And so he has to deliver it like very awkwardly and weird because that's what the voice sounded like. So he has to go with it, and it was awkward and weird. And then on top of that, the whole, I don't know, just the scenes in between are really dumb. You've got Alice playing checkers with the kidnapped victim, and he's like, it's okay, you win. And then he like jumps over a bunch of her pieces because she kept insisting, no, it's your turn. It's your turn. And so he jumps over King Me, and then she's like gets all pissed and tosses the board. I'm just like, you wanted this. You was trying to say no, and you wanted this, and yet you're pissed about it. Is this just you again trying to be like, oh, I'm crazy, guys. I wanted him to play so he could beat me, and then I'd be mad because I'm crazy. Oh. On top of that, Mouse goes in, faking as a guy, goes into the, what's it called? It's Catherine's place. I don't even remember what the name of it is now. But he goes in to get the gun. And there was like this weird moment where he shows up and everybody looks at him like they're mad at him or something. Before Catherine goes, I'm just like, have we ever seen an honest slow clap in real life? Ever. It doesn't matter what this guy did. Have you ever slow clapped for anybody after you looked at them like they just shot your dog? Like, you're brilliant. Like, what? Oh my gosh. So all of that was dumb. And then the crowning turd on top of all of this shit cake is the freaking storyline of Kate and her dad freaking just constantly blaming each other and themselves for what happened with Beth. It's not either of your freaking fault. Neither of you just said, screw it, I'm done. Neither of you just gave up for no reason. If either of you had done that, if either of you just said, look, it's been like a couple months, we haven't found anything at all, I'm done. If either of you had said that, you might have a little bit more reason, but still not really that much to blame either of yourselves. But here's the fact of the matter. One, Kate, it's not your freaking fault that you didn't sense your sister was on the other side of the door. She's the one that didn't open her freaking mouth and say a damn thing. So it's her fault that she didn't say anything. You shouldn't be expected to just psychically know when you don't have psychic powers that your sister's on the other side of the door. I don't care if you're freaking twins. You're not going to know that she's on the other side of the door, especially when you call out for her and she doesn't respond. That's going to convince you she's not there. And then the dad, he really has no reason to blame himself because one, the father of Mouse, as weird and creepy as he was, he had a convincing story. He had the story that his son, a little weird, a little socially awkward, can imitate voices really well, and so he called to do a prank. That was his story. Yeah, maybe it doesn't completely add up, but then you add on the fact that his freaking wife lied to him, gave him fake bones, and said, these are Beth's, and you really want to tell me that it's his fault? And then when they get in that final scene, it's like, I gotta blame Batman, because if I don't, then I'll blame myself. Why? It's not your fault. Batman's not the one that threw your family in the river, and you're not the one that just gave up looking for no reason. Your wife lied to you. It's her fault. If you're gonna blame anybody, you blame her because she did something so awful. I don't care if she says it's to save them, to be like, oh, well, I needed to give them a reason to just stop looking so desperately. No, you're an idiot. You're an idiot for doing that because that's selfish. It's because you wanted him to stop looking for his past, wife and daughter. Because you were in his life now and you felt like that was taking up too much of his time. What you did was take away his hope. Kate didn't lose hope because she was a bit younger, a bit more naive. But it's not on him, though. And that's the frustrating thing about this whole stupid-ass thing, is that he wants to take the blame and Kate wants to take the blame, and nobody's just putting on their common sense cap and going, maybe it's the people that lied to us that are at fault here. Maybe it's the guy that kidnapped Beth and kept her hidden away from us so we couldn't see her. And maybe it's the one that gave us fake bones that said, hey, she's dead. We found proof that she's dead. Maybe it's their faults. So anyways, that's my whole rant about that whole situation. On top of that, the story of the executioner in this one is just, it's not that interesting. For one, they're going more on the social justice warrior thing by trying to be like, oh, see, they're racist. They're just throwing black guys in prison, and that's all they ever throw in prison. Like, yes, it's not because... I don't even want to get into political stuff right now. Like, there is a problem in America. It's not racism. My God, stop blaming every single problem we have on racism, please. But, so you have these three guys that are working together. First of all, the first guy, Stanton or whatever his name was, the prosecutor. Am I just blind, or did he come from the left side of the screen? Let's just, if this is the parking lot where he was parked, he comes from this side, right? So he walked over from somewhere over here. His car is over here. And then that's where the pole falls, and then the water's coming this way. And instead of just going back where he came from, he decides, I'm going to climb a fence. Or even, hey, let me go jump on top of that car because guess what? Rubber doesn't conduct electricity, so that would also work. But instead he's just like, no, I'm just going to run and climb up the fence so that way I can get killed. So that was already really dumb. But, I don't know, just this whole thing of like, oh, well, there's this one guy. Clearly it's not him. Just because, he took a shot at the prosecutor. So? That's minimal evidence. It's like they really wanted to make that point of like, oh, well, the cops, they think they have it handled, but in reality they don't know because she knows. She knows the truth. It's like, that's the only reason they threw in the fist guy. Is because they wanted her to find the true bad guy while they were searching this other guy, so that way she could one-up them and be like, no, I know who the real guy is. I know who the real executioner is. And so, but like I said, I mean, the whole thing at the end, Kate doesn't even stop him. Her dad has to come in and shoot him, and even then, they get trapped in the room with the gas. And really, I mean, it should have been easier to get out of there, but of course, it's not. God, I don't know. I don't understand. I really want to know who the writers are in some of these shows. When I look at shows like this one, or like Supergirl, or like Arrow after season 2, I want to meet the writers for this. Do they have different writers for every episode? Because that's what it feels like sometimes. This one maybe not as much. Arrow definitely felt like it changed the writers every other episode because one episode is like, oh, well, this is our theme today. Next episode completely against that theme. This one is just, it feels dumb. It feels like you got no reason for Kate to blame her father, or her father to blame herself, or Kate to blame herself, or Alice to blame either of them for all of this stuff. But they're just shoehorning that in. And they are worthy of blame, guys. Don't you understand? They stopped looking. For a reason. They might feel guilty about it, but nobody in their right mind is going to look at that from the outside and be like, oh yeah, it's their fault. It's their fault that Beth ended up this way. It's completely their fault. Nobody in their right mind is going to think that, because these circumstances that led to that, it's not their fault. It's the people that lied to them and put them in this situation. It's their fault. It's the guy who kidnapped Beth, and it's the wife that lied to them. You want to blame anyone, blame them. But stop freaking putting them in the pity party where they're just blaming themselves the whole time. It's freaking annoying as hell. Felt good. Felt good to release. Again, there's one thing I will say. I'm 6 episodes in. The show sucks. But it's nice to release the rage onto something. It is giving me a migraine. I'll need to take some medicine for that. But these reviews are a nice little way for me to escape and just all the stupidity that I'm dealing with in the world right now. Just throw it at Batwoman because it's a crappy show. Writing sucks. The characters suck. So yeah, that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 3 episodes? Let me know. We could talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Batwoman reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.